So I want to welcome you to our virtual homemade crafts virtual series. And today we're going to be making these wonderfully smelling cinnamon ornaments to use as decoration around your house or to make and to give as gifts. And so these gifts are, these ornaments smell really great, simple, made with some simple ingredients. They smell great when you're making them and when you're drying them, as well as when they're hanging around the house. So either a decoration for you or even a gift for someone that's homemade. So we are going to be using some simple kitchen ingredients and things that you have around the house to make these today. So we're going to be starting off with a cup, or I'm sorry, 3/4 of a cup of unsweetened applesauce is one ingredient. You're going to be using a cup of ground cinnamon. And so that's a cup by volume, not by weight. So a measuring cup like this full of cinnamon. Something that's optional is a teaspoon of nutmeg and a teaspoon of cloves, which make everything smell even better. Those are some scents of Christmas or holiday season. And then 2 tablespoons of white glue that helps kind of stick everything together. You're also going to need a spatula and something to cut out your ornaments today. And so cookie cutters like this that are pretty solid and thick work really great, but if you just have the smaller plastic cookie cutters, those work just fine too. Or you can cut out your own shapes as well. When I have everything all kind of mixed together in my bowl here, you have to roll it out. So I roll mine out on wax paper that I've kind of taped to the counter here. You can roll it out on your counter, or if you have a big cutting board, that would work fine too. So I've already added my applesauce, my cinnamon, nutmeg and cloves, and then the glue in here. And so what I'm going to do now is mix it all together. And you'll find at first it's a little bit of a moist or wet dough. Essentially, that's what you're making. You're taking some dry ingredients and you're taking some wet ingredients and you're mixing it together. The combination of the applesauce and the cinnamon and the other spices, if you use them, are great smelling. And then the addition of the glue helps things kind of stick together. So with this part, you can either mix it with your spoon, and when you get to a point, you can start using your hands. If you use your hands, it's going to be just a little bit messy, but that's okay because all of these things are natural ingredients that you are using to cook with and you eat, with the exception of the glue. And so they're nice and safe to use your hands to work with. So I've gotten my dough. Everything's kind of mixed well together. I'm going to show you what it looks like here in my bowl. And you can see that it's still pretty wet. And so I'm going to feel it with my hands. And if you think it's too wet to roll out, what you can do is add just a little bit more cinnamon. So that's why I always have a little bit of extra cinnamon here. Because if it's too wet, then it's just going to stick and you're not going to be able to cut out your cookie shapes. Your shapes with it. So I'm going to roll up my sleeves here and use my hands to kind of work it. See if I can dry it out. That's another thing that will help dry your dough out if you're working it. And just like if you're making bread dough or pie dough, getting some air in there. And when you feel it's at a point that you can pick it up and kind of roll it in a ball, and it doesn't really stick together, or it does stick together, and you can start to press it and form it a little bit more moist than, let's say, Play-Doh. That's at a point where you can start to roll it out. So I'm going to put my bowl aside here, and then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of the cinnamon on my wax paper here. That'll help your dough from sticking to your wax paper. And so what you want to do is roll out your dough to about 1/4 of an inch. And if you find that your dough is sticking to your rolling pin, you can add a little bit more cinnamon. And when I'm rolling out dough, I try to go in all directions. If you start to have a few cracks in the side, give it a little pat, kind of work those together. And what you're going to do if you want to work in smaller batches, let's say this is one batch which will make about 5 or so ornaments, you can cut this in half when you're rolling it and work in smaller batches is a little bit easier to do that. So what I'm going to do is take my cookie cutters right here. I have a snowman. It's about 1/4 inch thick. And I'm going to make one cookie cutout. I'm going to take this edge out from around. And then I have another one, a Christmas tree right here that I'm going to make another one right here. And then I'll take the edges and I will make another one. So with my 2 ornaments here, I always like to make a hole in while the dough is wet, because then you, if you wait till it's dry, you run the risk of cracking your ornament. So straws work really great. Just a regular drinking straw, right up towards the top, you just press it down, and then it takes out that little bit and makes a perfect little hole for after they're dry. Now, earlier I said that you could either dry these on a cookie sheet in the oven about 200 degrees for about 2 hours, very, very low heat, or you can dry them on a cookie sheet or a rack for about 2 days, just air dry somewhere in your house, whichever you would like. You carefully lift these off. I'll show you what they look like here, that nice little hole right there. I'm going to dry mine in the oven because when you're doing that, it makes the whole house, well, I'm at the Nature Center right now, but smell like cinnamon and cloves and nutmeg if you have those things in there. So that is kind of a really simple and easy way to do those cinnamon ornaments. Or you can dry them out for 2 days. Either way works wonderful. Now after they are all dry, they're going to smell great. I have a Christmas tree already made right here. And then you can take anything to string them up. So if you have some yarn, you can use that. If you have ribbon, you can use that, or twine. You can also decorate them with a little bit of paint or some other natural things you can find outside, seeds or acorn tops, whatever natural elements you want to add. And then you just take your, whatever you're going to hang them with, right through that nice little hole that you made. Another great thing for kids to do to decorate and to make gifts. And then you give it a little tie. These might work great as maybe embellishments or tags for outside of other gifts. So there you go. A very simple little cinnamon ornament. If you didn't catch that recipe, no worries. I'm going to put that in the comments here, our full recipe, so you can use that if you're going to be interested in making these this holiday season. Our videos will also be posted on our YouTube page, so check that out if you want to re-watch them if you're watching right now. And we have one more of our homemade virtual gifts in this series, which will be Thursday at noon, going live. So if you want to join us and you have any questions, then you can join us then. We will be making a milkweed pod craft, another milkweed pod ornament actually. So join us live for that then. If you have any questions, please put those in the comments, and I'll keep my eye on the comments and do my best to answer them if there are any. Thanks very much for joining me today. I will see you in a couple of days for our next homemade holiday gift in our virtual series. Thanks very much.